The deadly coronavirus. The Chinese are panicking, but Americans are telling you don't panic while the disease is spreading and they do nothing. Why you need to be concerned, coming up next on Deceptions of the Ages News. Hello everybody, welcome to Deceptions of the Ages News. Let's take a look at what's going on, but before we do, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. Now, in 2018, I wrote this book, The Rainier Paradigm. And the reason I wrote the book is because it is very scary that they are putting so many people in the Pacific Northwest. And if there is any kind of natural disaster, there is only two ways by road in and out of here. So if something were to happen, like a volcano or a natural disaster, then people would really not have any way to get out of here. And with the millions of people here, they would depend on air supply or sea supply, but in the event of a tsunami, there would be no place to land a ship. So there is a lot of problems with the way they are packing all these people into the Pacific Northwest. But it looks like they're not going to need to use the HARP, as I mentioned in this book, to detonate Mount Rainier and kill everybody so that these real estate consortiums can resell all this land. No, it looks like they're going to do it cheaply. Map. A deadly virus is spreading across the globe. Here's where coronavirus cases have been confirmed, and this is on NBC News. More than 900 people have been sickened by the coronavirus, mostly in China. Health officials worldwide are working to contain a coronavirus that has spread to several countries in a matter of days. This map will be updated when more information is available. As of January 24th, coronavirus cases were confirmed in China, Thailand, Taiwan, Japan, Singapore, South Korea, Vietnam, and the U.S. As of Friday, more than 900 people have been sickened and 26 have died since the start of the month, according to an NBC News analysis of data collected from China's National Health Commission, province and city health departments, China Central Television, and the People's Daily. China Central Television is a government-run station, and People's Daily is a Communist Party-run something. Great reporting, NBC, and these are all the same. They get their same news from the same source, so it's all the same thing, like getting our news from an American news agency. It all comes from the Central Intelligence Agency. All right, so confirmed coronavirus cases per country. China's got 900 about, Thailand a few, Japan a few. U.S. is got 2 already, and moving up, Singapore and Vietnam also on the list with South Korea. While most of the cases and all of the deaths have occurred in China, officials feared that the busy travel season in advance of Saturday's Lunar New Year would accelerate the virus spread. As of Thursday, 3 Chinese cities were on lockdown. No U.S. cities are on lockdown. The Chinese government, which is looking to avoid a repeat of the 2003 SARS outbreak, has warned officials not to cover up the spread of the virus. The South China Morning Post reported Tuesday that Beijing said anyone who withheld information would be, quote, the sinner of a millennium to the party and the people, and would be, quote, nailed on the pillar of shame for eternity. So why would these non-Christian people have so many allusions to Christian terminology, unless it was all pretty much made up by fake NBC idiots trying to get a story out. All right, but still, China is panicking. And now let's look at another story. This is a story I did yesterday on the spread in Washington State. And let's look at this story. A suburban Seattle man remains the only known U.S. resident with the mysterious new coronavirus. Notice the difference in the way the two governments are treating this coronavirus. One is trying to contain it, one is trying to make sure that it spreads as fast as possible. So let's take a look here. Get past that stupid commercial. Seattle public health officials here are monitoring at least 16 people who were in close contact with a man from a nearby suburb, the nation's first person infected with a new global respiratory virus after a trip to China. The new deadly coronavirus, which originated in the central city of Wuhan, has so far infected more than 540 and killed at least 17, according to Chinese authorities. Wuhan officials have halted air and train travel from the city and closed public transportation. The virus has spread to Beijing, Thailand, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, kind of like closing the door after the horse is out of the barn. So there's only one known case in the U.S. The unidentified Snohomish man in his 30s who returned from Wuhan last week and became ill. So the unidentified Snohomish man, is there another identified Snohomish County man? Is there another man, or are there other people with this? County and health officials began this painstaking work of tracking the man's travel and contacting individuals who shared flights, public transportation, or otherwise came in close contact with him. Some healthcare workers who treated the man at a local clinic were asked to stay home and monitor for symptoms. Now, this is where it gets really frightening. What is a coronavirus, and should Americans be worried? A virus cannot be cured. That's pretty much all you need to know. And then we have Lurch, Washington Governor Jay Inslee. You might have saw him on the Addams Family. He answered the door. Praised the efforts of state and local health departments in tracking the virus path. Yes, Lurch let him right in. Lurch opened that door, and Lurch is saying, this is certainly not a moment for panic or high anxiety. Lurch said, it is a moment for vigilance. I can't do the Lurch voice, but if I could, I would. So a moment for vigilance. What vigilance? Are they shutting anything down? Are they keeping tracking of anybody? Did they stop one person from coming from China? No, they didn't. The man traveled to Wuhan in November to visit family and had no symptoms when he returned January 15th on a collecting flight to SeaTac. He took some form of transportation from the airport to his home in the suburban county of North Seattle. When he became ill with a cough on Monday, he visited an unidentified clinic. He was later transported to Providence Regional Medical Center in Everett. I did a story on this yesterday. What is he doing in this medical center in Everett, where they immediately started bringing people with large families into the hospital? So, according to this story, the man is in satisfactory condition and recovering at the hospital in an isolated something or other unit. He is walking around in his room and is cooperating with health officials. He appears to be doing well, said Jay Cook, the hospital's chief medical officer. We hope he will continue on his excellent clinical course and will be able to return home in the near future. Health officials said this is really frightening. In spite of what the Chinese are doing, our health officials said the virus is low risk and likely spreads through tiny droplets when a person coughs or sneezes. Officials urge people to take the usual cold and flu season precaution, frequent hand washing, cover your mouth when coughing or sneezing, and staying home when you don't feel well. Continuing on, blah, 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 we have this one case in Washington State. It's not that I'm saying we shouldn't be concerned. I think we need to keep things in context. A deadly virus, and he wants to keep things in context. Washington State and Snohomish County officials have not publicly identified places the infected man visited after returning from China because they don't know, because they don't speak Chinese. Similarly, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has not released details on the man's flight, including any connecting city. Rather, the CDC is contacting the airlines, state, and local health departments to individually notify people on the flights. So here's a map of where the corona cases are, but this is from yesterday, and we should add that there are now three cases in the United States, and they are telling people not to be worried and not to take things out of context. So it looks like in the United States they're not going to do too much, and we see that here where it says, "We're not worrywarts or germaphobes." SeaTac spokesman Perry Cooper said despite the passing sick passenger, the airport was determined by CDC to be low risk. Airport staff was neither discouraged or encouraged to wear masks or gloves or take the other protective measures beyond those normally employed during flu season, he said. The emergence of a mysterious virus, however, has been a hot conversation topic among airport transportation workers, trying to figure out if the man was anyone's fare. So, okay, so there you see it. You have China, who is basically panicking, and you have the U.S. who is saying, don't panic. So what is the difference? Why? Well, there's two reasons for the United States acting the way they are. Number one is that they don't want to offend the Chinese communists, because so many of these politicians, like in Washington, especially Oregon, California, they are super funded by the Chinese, their subsidiaries, their donors. Just look at the donor list and see how many Chinese firms and Chinese contributors that these people have. They want to keep these floodgates open. Okay, so they're not going to do anything to help you and interrupt the flow of money. And speaking of money, that's the second reason. Now, all of these politicians, or most of them, have massive stakes in real estate schemes, scams, whatever, building these millennial condos, as I call them, in order to make super amounts of money. And I just give you the example of Nancy Pelosi, who is worth like at least 30 or 40 million dollars on paper. She's got 12 million, but all of her real estate assets. That's what I'm talking about. Same thing in Washington State. They're selling real estate. So if you're going to die, it doesn't matter. There's going to be somebody else to take your place. That's what's going on right now. And the thing that you have to be concerned about very much for yourself is that look at the plague of the 1300s. When people die, there's no way to get people to harvest food. If there's a panic, people run away from places. There is no services. There's nobody to turn things on. And so it could really mean a massive shutdown of our society if this is the one that we've all been afraid of and that we've all been worried about, that these governments are trying to push out on us. Because remember what the Georgia Guidestones say, 500 million. All right, well, that is your coronavirus update for today. Now, please subscribe to this channel and stay tuned, because we are going to probably be giving you updates as this coronavirus continues to spread. Because here at Deceptions of the Ages News, we're pretty sure that this is the one, and we're pretty sure because of the way that the governments especially the U.S. government, and especially Jay Inslee in Washington, who doesn't know anything about anything, but who is basically a meat puppet, being with his strings being pulled. Well, we're at the whim of whoever's controlling this guy. So things don't look good for us. So that's Deceptions of the Ages news. We'll see you next time.